Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Today we're going to be looking at the Atomstack P9 with the M50 module, cantilever style laser. And I'll be doing a full review on it. So stay right there. We're about to get started. All right, so I've been a little bit I guess what would be the right word, a little bit slow in getting the video out this week because this big boy over here arrived. It is the new Monport 80 watt with the 24 by 36 workbed. So I'm so excited. As a teaser, I guess, this was one of the first runs that I did on it. Of course, I did the universal test card first, and then I started dialing in my settings with this one, and of course I ran a couple of others, but that's another video. Today we're going to be looking at the Atomstack P9 with the M50 laser module, the cantilever model. And I gotta say that, you know, these Atomstack has really fantastic laser modules. The M40, the M50, they're both fantastic. They have very small spot size, and they cut and they engrave superbly. So let's get started. Oh, before we get started, I want to give a big thank you to Bill Bonham in New Jersey. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that donation. And I want to give a thank you out to all of my Patreons, all of my supporters, all of the kind notes that I get. And I'm sorry if I'm a little slow in answering emails this week. We had a server glitch with the mail server and the firewall and just all kinds of problems with the forum, people getting activated. So I'm getting between, 300 to 800 emails a day. So that's been taking up a lot of my time. But with that said, let's get on with the review of the P9. So let's start with some pictures. All right, so jumping straight into the pictures, give them props for this. This is the first Chinese laser that I've seen that comes with a retail package. Really nice looking package. I like it. Not a big deal. Doesn't matter to anybody, but it's a nice looking package. Inside, it's exactly what you would expect. Premium packaging. You don't have to worry about anything getting damaged in shipping. And when you take it all out, it looks like a lot, but there's really not much here. You have the X gantry, you got the Y axis, you got two legs, and just a couple of steps to put it together. It really was very simple. Didn't take long at all. I think it was the fastest laser assembly that I've done so far. Now, they give you these little legs right here, which is kind of convenient for assembling it. You don't have to assemble it upside down. So that's nice. You got two for this side, two for this side. And all you do is you're putting on the belts here. And talking about the belts, this is how it goes on. If you buy one of these, you'll see these just fit in here. And there's a tensioner off to the side that you turn to tighten it or loosen it. Very simple installation. No feeding it in and out of rollers or anything like that. Here we've got the micro SD card and the SD card reader. And it's got this little magnetic thing on the front, which I wound up taking off. I don't use it. It's for offline controlling. And the reason why I took it off and I didn't really want to put it on here is because there's air ventilation over here. So I can't imagine why you'd want to stick this to the front of the machine. And the module is probably the best thing about it. This is the M50 module. It's fixed focus and it's 10 watts. And it is a great laser. Like I said earlier, Atomstack, the M40, M50 modules are superb. They have great focal spots. All right, so with the pictures out of the way, the assembly was, straightforward. The manual was great, I have to say. No issues along the way. Everything screwed in properly. The belts tightened properly. I didn't tighten the X belt well, so the first burn I wound up with some anomalies, but I noticed that right away. Went back and tightened it. and everything went fine from there. So I guess we'll jump into the videos, and I'll show you some of the things that, some of the processes that I put it through. Oh, and I got a new air scrubber that I ordered from Monport, by the way, and it allows you to work indoors to a good extent anyway. The entire time that I used it, which was about 8 or 10 burns in a row, there was just the slightest hint of like a wood smell, and it was more like an air freshener smell, really, when you think about it. When I thought about it, you could hardly smell anything coming out of it. Really worked great, and it's a 4-stage air scrubber. So it's got the 2 filters, the HEPA filter on the bottom, and the charcoal layer in the middle. Does a really good job if you can afford one. They're a couple $100, but if you're working indoors and you need to do this indoors, it's cold outside or whatever, I think it's a really good product, and I got to try it out today. So let's jump into the videos, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first thing that I always do is I do a universal test card on any new laser that I get. And I hadn't hooked up the air scrubber yet, so I'm still using my old one that I am going to be making a modification on, but I just haven't gotten to it yet with everything that's going on here. So yeah, this is the very first burn of the laser, is the test card. I did a couple little burns first just to get an idea of the power, the speed, and the power to use as a baseline. And this did a really fine job on the test card. It was probably exactly what I was expecting, and you can see that it came out really nice. So in a second we'll get to the results in real time as soon as this finishes. But I didn't have any problem setting it up. It's a little hard to get it set up, but once that was done, it wasn't a problem at all. So the test card came out perfect. I do need to run a couple little other tests on it, but for the most part, it was perfect. I used my first couple little burns that I did, as well as the Atomstack recommended settings. And you see that everything came out perfect here. Some of the pieces just need a little help dropping out, but look at the grayscale from 10% to 100%, and that little part on the left is, I guess it's an anomaly in the wood. But good shading from 10% all the way up to 100%. The text came out perfect. There's no ghosting on it or anything like that. The cuts came out perfect. Everything was cut cleanly and completely through. I think it did a really super job on the test card. And I didn't have any of my standard 2mm or 1.5mm, which I usually use. So I wound up using this 3.5mm 3-ply plywood, and I think it did really a fantastic job. So next I moved on to some bamboo, and I got a picture of a deer, and on a Dollar Tree $1 cutting board. Came out fantastic, really nice. I'm going to slow it down in a second and show you the results. And there is the final burn coming off the laser. And this is why I recommend 10 watts for bamboo. If you look at the area, look at that fine detail on the fur. It just came out awesome. I mean, really nice. I recommend the 10-watt laser for this because of the dark burn. And look at the anomaly. There's one in the deer horns. You can't see it. It burns it nice and clean, and it looks absolutely wonderful when you're burning on bamboo with these really small focus 10-watt lasers. They do an absolutely fantastic job. So, you know, there it is. That was just a beautiful engraving. Okay, so I burned some lines on this piece of wood, a grid actually, and you can hardly see it in the video, so I'm trying to zoom way in on one corner here. And all I want to do is just check the accuracy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the little map icon, which moves the laser head, and move it directly over that first corner. And I'm hoping that you can see this on camera. And I'm going to fire the laser. And I'm just going to move it down the line just a little bit. And you'll see that it is exactly where it's supposed to be. And I just homed the laser. Now I'm going to move a little closer to the front. So I'm going to fire the laser again, and I'm going to move it right to that corner right there. And the accuracy is perfect on this. I'm going to move up to the next corner. And I know this is hard to see on the video, but I'm doing my best here. We're going to move it to the next corner right there. And I'm just going to keep moving corner to corner. And you can see that they are spot on, which is what I would want. And I'm going to go to the very outskirts. And that's the very limit right there. And then back over to the original first corner that I did earlier. Or actually, no, that's up a little further. There we go. And I know it's hard to see, like I said, in this video, but it is spot on. Not even a millimeter off. And I'll move it up to the circle that I did, just the very bottom of the circle. And you can't see that one, so that's a waste of time. But I guess we'll come back to the corner. And when I fire the laser again, looking at it is dead spot on. So the accuracy on this is really superb, I have to say that much. So next I decided to do my favorite character from Family Guy. And I wanted to see how an engrave and a cut would come out. And this job was actually pretty quick. I didn't have to really speed it up, but it did a superb job. And you'll see now that the engraving is perfect and the cut is also perfect as well. Nice and clean, no real burned edges. It just did a super job on this graphic. Next up, aluminum business cards. And I can't remember if this one is anodized or painted. I'm really not sure. I'm thinking that this is the anodized aluminum card. And it did a fine job on it. Now, don't take points off for my framing because I didn't do a good job on getting it set up. But look how clean that is. Look how uniform the lines are in it. It is just an absolute perfect burn. Did a great job. You know, I'm very impressed with these Atomstack modules. You already know that. But yeah, that look at the line distance there. And I had this set at 0.08. So being that we were doing metals, I decided to get out a scraper or a putty knife, I guess you might call it, and with no treatment whatsoever, just straight to the metal. Now I did have a hard time getting it level, I will tell you that, and then I bumped the table after I thought I had it level. So it did move. So I wound up getting two colors on it, but It did a really nice job on the stainless, and I guess that's, I don't know if it's chrome or stainless, one or the other. But if you take a look at it, you'll see the part that was defocused came out gold, but the other part, look how beautiful it came out, the part on the left. So my mistake on that one, but did a fantastic job on this putty knife. So then I decided to do a slate coaster, and Atomstack does not have a recommendation for stone or slate or anything like that. So I loaded, I think, the wrong library for my slate. I think I loaded the 5-watt, but so it didn't come out great. But I did another one afterwards that came out fantastic, a Saints coaster, Saints football team. But this one, it didn't come out bad. I mean, it did a good job, but I just had the wrong power setting for it. And actually, I don't think it was the 5-watt. I think it was the 40-watt CO2 that I used. So the power settings were way too low. But still, it did a fine. It's a 10-watt laser. It'll eat up the slate with no problem. And again, I don't have it perfectly centered, but that wasn't the point of doing this. The point was just to, show you how it comes out. So you can see there, I have my line width a little too wide on this one. But if I would have increased the power a little bit, it would be a nice pure white. All right, so that's it. Finished the acrylic. Let's take a look at it. It just cut through this acrylic like butter. Nice smooth cut. And I'm gonna peel some of this off right now. And if you don't have one of these dental tools, you need to get one if you're working with acrylic, because it is just fantastic. Makes finding the edges so easy, even when it gets stuck back down again. And let's see what we can peel off here. I'll show you a little trick in a minute. The trick is black Gorilla Tape. And if you put the black Gorilla Tape on there and then pull it off, it pulls off all of the little pieces like that. And of course, it's hard to get the tape off, the Gorilla Tape. But this is a great little trick if you've never done acrylic before. It does do a good job taking everything off. And you can't do this with regular tape. It does have to be Gorilla Tape. I've tried with the regular tape. It does work to some degree, but not like this. This just makes it so simple. And there is our finished product. I don't know if I can get it to show up, but look at that. Looks pretty nice. It did a really beautiful job on it. That's a light engraving, but even the light engraving came out gorgeous. All right, so let's talk about the air scrubber for a minute. And I want you to see here that I've got it hooked up to that port on the right, and the hose just sucked right up to it. I don't have anything attaching it, but it sucked right onto the laser tent. And you can see all the smoke being sucked out. There's not a bit of smell at all in the shop. There is a, like a slight smell, sort of like an air freshener. But you see the smoke going out? That, that's, I think it just does an excellent job at taking the smoke out of the air. And I'll go back to the live shot in a second. So now with the lid open, the smoke is rising out the top. I'm going to leave the lid open and turn on the machine. And watch how quickly it empties the entire smoke. All of the smoke is gone. So you can see that smoke is going directly to the intake over there. I think this is a great thing to have if you're going to be lasering indoors, and you should vent this to the outside. It has a slight smell of the air coming out, but it's sort of like an air freshener smell. It's not a burning smell. And again, I'll turn it off and watch. It has to wind down now. It's still sucking air, but now watch what happens to the smoke. It's going to start rising again. See, there's no breeze in here. So now the whole container here is filling up with smoke. Kind of hard to see on the video. And now it's coming out the top, up here. So I'll turn it back on. And right away, before it's even wound up, it's already gotten all the smoke out from inside the tent. And it's just so hard to catch on video, but it's all going straight up out that tube into the air scrubber. So yeah, if you can afford it, I mean, this is a great product to have. I just can't get a good angle on it where you can see the smoke. There we go. Maybe that'll work. It's all going right out that tube over there, and I don't even have it attached. It's actually sucked its way up to the outside of the grow tent, or the laser tent, I should say. So yeah, I think that proves that it works really, really well, and just a very faint smell, like I said, like an air freshener. All right, so there we go. That's all of the projects that I did. I actually did a few more projects, but that's all the testing I think I need to show you guys. And I think it did a great job. Are you ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly? Because that's what we're going to do now. So let's start with the good. The good is it has an M50 module. Has an offline controller if you're interested in that kind of stuff. If you design in one room and you have your laser in a garage, let's say, but you design the living room, you could save it to the design to the SD card, bring it over to the laser and run it from there. I don't. I wound up disconnecting the offline controller completely, just because it's not necessary when you're using lightburn. Let's see, the good. It was easy assembly. It came in a pretty box that we're probably all going to throw away anyway, so I guess that doesn't matter. But well built. I think it's well built. I think it's well designed. It functions the way it's supposed to, so which is good. As far as functioning goes, it was spot on. The accuracy was incredibly good. You saw in the accuracy video that, I mean, it was just spot on in those corners. Doesn't get any better than that. So let's talk about the bad. The bad, 200 by 250, very small work area. Now, if you're just doing, projects for friends and family, things like that, it's definitely big enough. You could do a few coasters and things like that. But with the cantilever lasers, you're not gonna really do much production work with them because of the small work size. But I will say that one good thing is that it's portable enough that you can bring it out to a job site. For instance, if you need to engrave a table or something like that, and you can move it around very easily. So it's easy to store. It takes up a very small amount of space. But some of the bad things are they did not put any holes in the legs so that you can affix it to the wasteboard. And that's really important with a cantilever style because it's going to move all over the place. So That would be my first recommendation. My second recommendation is the wiring comes out from the bottom of the laser, loops up and goes into the top of the laser module. So from the frame to the laser module, you have this down and then up, and that down part catches your material. Now I did do a mod, and I put a zip tie on there and zip tied it to the top, so now it goes over the top, and that works absolutely perfect. But I would highly recommend to them that they, number one, drill two or four holes in the legs so that you can affix it to the spoil board, and number two, that they include that zip tie and the little sticker so that you can zip tie it up and out of the way where it doesn't catch the workpiece. One of the greatest problems that laser manufacturers in China have is R&D. And during their R&D, they don't do a lot of user testing, unlike here in the US. And so how would this work for a user? And they don't do a lot of that. They do how does it cut, how does it engrave, things like that. But, you know, in practical use, that cable is going to grab your work every time. And even my spiky bed, I had a problem with that. It was grabbing the bed and turning the entire workpiece. So, you know, you need to have that zip tie up on top, and there's no holes drilled there. Even if they just drilled a little hole in the top where you could put a zip tie through, that would be good. But there's nothing there. So I had to use the stick-on with the zip tie. I really can't think of too many other bad things to say about it. The offline controller worked perfectly. Had no problems with that. Everything else seemed to work well. I didn't have any problems whatsoever except with the focusing. And, you know, like I said earlier, the biggest problem that these sliding laser modules have, instead of being on a screw where you just turn it from the top up and down, they have it on the slider where you have to tighten from the side or from the front. And the greatest problem is the front one, like the P9 has, when you tighten it clockwise, like I said, it lowers the laser down. Now I did find a solution to that. I did find some 1.5 millimeter wood that I had here on the shelf, and I put their focusing card down with the wood on top, so that when I tightened it, it pressed all the way down, and when I pulled out the wood, it was perfectly focused onto the card, the focusing card. But that I shouldn't have to find that solution, because, you know, they should know about this. I mean, they obviously have to focus it at the factory when they're doing their testing. So they should know about this, and they should have designed something better, maybe, like I said, with a adjustable knob at the top. I think all of them should focus that way. But that being said, I did find a workaround. You could find a workaround, and it does work okay. But I would like to see that improved. And another thing is, too, there are a bunch of little different holes all up and down that frame. So sometimes you'll catch a hole and you have no choice but to drop down a millimeter or go up a half a millimeter, one or the other. So focus is extremely important when it comes to laser engraving. And if you're not perfectly focused, if you're defocused or you know, advanced focused, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. So with all of that said, I guess there is a workaround to get around it, but I'd like to see that improved. Other than that, I thought this was a good laser. I didn't really have any problems with it at all. I had no problems setting it up in lightburn. I had no problems with the results. It does a fantastic job on bamboo. And if you do a lot of bamboo, like the cutting boards, for instance, you're going to want a 10-watt laser, because you get the best burn on bamboo with a 10-watt. With the 5-watt, you have to run slower and hotter, which causes a lot of charring. But with the 10-watt, you can run fast. You saw with the deer how beautiful that engraving came out, and you don't pick up a lot of the anomalies that you do with the 5-watt laser. Even the CO2. The 10-watt diode laser does a better job than any laser, in my opinion, for working with bamboo. and working with wood that has a lot of grain in it. That's about it. If you have any questions, comments, ask them down below. I'll put a link down below to this. I'll put a link down below to the air scrubber if you're interested in taking a look at that, and the micrometer that I use to test different thicknesses. And I really, really like this micrometer. This is the second one that I've gotten, so now I've got one in each shop, the laser shop, the wood shop. And I really like it a lot because it's always zeroed. I turn it on, it's at 0. My Harbor Freight was never never at 0, never an accurate reading either. When I got this one, I did a couple of tests, and I tested one against the other. And I took something that I knew was 2 millimeters, and it was 2 millimeters on the new one, and it was 2.14 or something like that on the Harbor Freight. So that, getting a cheap micrometer is not worth it because you're never going to be completely accurate. So yeah, like I said, any questions, any comments, let me know down below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I had fun making it. I had fun testing the P9. It's a great little portable machine if that's what you're looking for. And I would definitely give it a thumbs up. So, as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.